Tonight, minority in parliament tears into the NDC government, accusing it of acting in bad faith for failing to resolve ongoing NSS strike, as they call for immediate resolution of the matter to prevent any casualty at health facilities across the country.
Bad faith from government. Extremely bad faith from government. And then now you, the same Labour Commission, then take them to court, referring to the same act that says that essential workers do not go to strike, do not strike. Again, another bad faith.
We have details as government reviews implementing the agreed upon conditions of service will throw the budget out of alignment.
In fact, if we fully implement it, we are going to add in excess of 2 billion cedis to the compensation budget. It is important for us to manage expenditure.
Tonight we hear from stakeholders in the health sector here on Pulse, brought to you always by Telecel Connecting Energies. Let's settle for details here on Top Story, brought to you always by Telecel Connecting Energies. Now, the minority in parliament is tonight tearing into the John Mahama-led NDC government, accusing it of acting in bad faith for failure to resolve ongoing nurses' strike. Members of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association have over the past 1 week laid down their tools to pile pressure on government to implement the improved conditions of service signed last year. A number of engagements in the past few days are since not yielded any solution to the matter. Speaking at a press conference earlier in Parliament today, the minority first accused government of acting in bad faith, reason for the undue delay in implementing the agreement. Nana Uefriye is ranking member on the Health Committee.
You may make an argument that the essential health workers, but the same Act 625, that's Section 10, that says that they are essential workers, and for that matter, if they want to resort to strike, they would have to write to the Fair Wages Commission. They notified the Labour Commission and the Fair Wages. They did so, Labour Commission. They gave them a letter, and then in the same act, they're supposed to respond within 48 to 72 hours. You did not respond to it. Bad faith from government. Extremely bad faith from government. And then now you, the same Labour Commission, then take them to court, referring to the same act that says that essential workers do not go to strike, do not strike. Again, another bad faith. So you are using your powers to checkmate them, while the same act gave you the mandate to have resolved their issue within 72 hours. You did not. We in minority don't believe that the nurses are at any fault. It is their right. They are seeking their right. I would want to know any of you who think this just is not justified in Appendix A of their CBA. Which of them? Is it the 30-month allowance, which has been agreed that is being paid under the previous government? Is it the issue of rural incentive allowance that was agreed, that is meant for nurses and midwives in the rural areas, so that we can have nurses and midwives in the rural area? Which of them would you say is not legitimate? Is it the issue of fuel allowances, which has been historical since 60s for these people? Is it the issue of uniform allowance, which has been there since the 1960s? It couldn't have been changed in any republic, and it cannot be changed under a previous government. It cannot be changed now. So you see that all the expectations in the CBA called for in Appendix B is justified and not far-fetched. But government has not seen the need to have engaged them since January. They feel undermined as far as their rights are concerned. And that is why they advise government that, okay, we're going to wear red bands for the first stage. The next stage, we're going to do OPD. And the next stage, IPD, inpatient, and now total strike. and nobody was listening to them to have taken them to court. Even taking them to court is an extreme act of bad faith. You don't. Everybody is being assertive. They have their rights within the law. You cannot use the law to checkmate them. That's not right.
So that's the ranking on Parliament Health Committee, Nana Ayuefriye. But we're learning that there's an update on that particular one in Parliament where, according to our reporter there, James Veggie, there seemed to be some misunderstanding, and the fact that the Speaker has even directed that marshals walk him out of the House. Let me join my colleague now, on the line. Avaji, tell us what exactly is happening, in the House. Well, we'll try and bring you what's happening in Parliament in that regard. Okay, let's take you to the House of Parliament now.
Leading to the adjournment. Doc, just want to have a word with you. You stood up to make a statement on the floor. What exactly did you want to say? For which reason you had a clash with the Speaker?
Today we've had a press conference here, right? After you are done with the press conference, you have to do your business on the floor. And therefore the hands that have to capture the same thing that we did to the public here, but by virtue of the proceedings, you have to capture it in the Hansard. And that's what we are trying to do. The statement here is not different from what I told the press. Yet the Speaker is not admitting to it. Now, the Order 93.1 allows for issue of urgent public importance. You explain to the Speaker at his discretion, he allows it. He insists that he's not allowing it, and he's been too partisan on this when the order is saying the issue of urgent public importance. If issues that is causing lives and death, losing lives and death is not important, then I don't know why else we are in this Parliament for.
Were you able to bring to his attention? Were you able to bring to his attention why you want?
Yeah, I did. Oh, yeah, we can do. Yeah. So sorry, I did. Yeah. So we're going to have a press conference. Sorry.
And so the minority is coming to have a press conference to address the issue properly. But what just happened on the floor, leading to the Speaker ordering the marshals of Parliament to move the Member of Parliament as well as the ranking member on the Health Committee out of the House, was when he rose to his feet. In fact, before he rose to his feet, the majority leader had moved that, bearing any further motion, he moves that the proceedings be be adjourned before he stood to make a statement. And the Speaker insisted that the House have been moved to adjourn, but he wanted to make the statement, leading to a back and forth between him and the Speaker. The Speaker actually calling on the marshals to take him off the floor of Parliament, and which led to the abrupt adjournment of the House. You see there in your shots, the minority are gathering the ranking on health, Nana Ayuefriye, together with the whip of the House, the Deputy Whip Habib Idris, are ready to address the press. Let's listen to them.
We are here clearly to explain to the public the extreme partisan nature of the first Deputy Speaker of Parliament. He's been extremely partisan this evening, disregarding the provisions of the standing orders of this House. This House has orders, and the order in 93.1 allows for issue of urgent public importance for statements to be admitted. Minority pleaded for him to exercise the highest form of discretion. But the first Deputy Speaker failed. I think the Deputy Speaker has a lot to learn from the Speaker himself. The Right Honourable Speaker is extremely liberal, encourages the provision and the execution of the standing orders. But the first Deputy Speaker, who is extremely partisan, has denied us the right of the minority to exercise what we have to do as far as this strike is concerned. What did we do this morning? We met you and then made you aware of our position. But it doesn't end there. Our business is in the House. So we made a statement, a joint statement between myself and Jerry Ahmed, basically to get the hands out to capture our position. And that's the way we work. And from this, you can deliberate on it and then put the necessary pressure on government to do what it has to do. But that is official. Regardless of the press conference we had earlier, this is our work. And the only way to have made it formal was to go through an urgent statement. But he has refused that. He has refused that. When the order 93-1 allows him to have admitted this on issue of urgent public importance. In issues like this where people are dying, if this is not important, what's our business in the House now? Threatening that he is going to expel myself and my colleagues out when we're trying to plead on nurses to go back to work and also ask government to be reasonable with their posturing towards nurses. What else do you expect from a minority? A reasonable minority. A reasonable minority who are not playing politics, unlike them. Whenever they had opportunity on health, they always played politics. A very reasonable minority here, we understand that nurses, their rights don't have to be breached. We understand the nurses are so right. But we are even pleading on the nurses that when government decide to speak with them, they should be merciful. On the face of their right, they should just lean towards the trying to be so sympathetic to Ghanaians. What have we done wrong for the first deputy speaker to have not admitted this statement that is speaking for Ghanaians and asking nurses to go back to work and also urging government to be responsible? The partisan first deputy speaker did not allow that. That is what happened. We've come to explain to you. Thank you very much. God bless you all.
And so you had the ranking on the health committee. Nana, are you free? Honorable, just wanted to have a quick one with you. You also had some brushes with the speaker when you first inquired to know the circumstances under which.
So that is my colleague there, James Aveji, in the House. Now, we know that this particular matter has been going on for some time. Today, we had government responding to some of the claims by the minority and the calls to act. Now, according to government, it cannot implement the proposal by the the improved conditions that they sign on to, because if it does, it will have dire consequences on this year's budget. Listen to the Deputy Finance Minister Thomas Ampem Dako make this particular call earlier today when they addressed a news conference there from the presidency. Listen.
The reality is that we have over 120,000 nurses, and the implementation of the current condition of service that they are demanding will have serious consequences for the budget. In fact, if we fully implement it, we are going to add in excess of 2 billion cedis to the compensation budget. We have all committed that in our resolve to reset the economy of this country, we must maintain a 1.5% primary balance surplus every year in order to bring our debt levels to sustainable levels. And so it is important for us to manage expenditure.
So that is the Deputy Finance Minister there. We also do understand that one of the things government is doing to deal with the impact of the absence of the nurses and midwives is having, for retired nurses return to the hospitals to render healthcare services. Listen to him.
While working around the clock to resolve the impasse, the Ministry of Health has taken the following steps to mitigate the suffering of Ghanaian patients unduly affected by the strike. The ministry will in the next few minutes publish a comprehensive list of facilities to complement facilities where nursing services are lacking and where patients can seek health care. Given the urgency of the situation and suffering of the patients, government appeals to public-spirited retired nurses and midwives to volunteer their services for a brief period pending the resolution of the impasse. We further express our deep appreciation to practicing nurses who have opted to remain at post to help suffering patients and urge others to show similar fellow feeling and assist our ailing compatriots even as efforts are made to address their concerns.
So that's how government is dealing with the impact of the strike across the country. Lead data analyst here, John News, Isaac Kofiaje, joins me in studio to give us a clear understanding of, the economy and how the the government says if they accommodate these improved conditions, it could put the budget out of alignment. Kofi, let's understand what the details are on the economy.
Well, Kojo, so the big fiscal number now is that 2 billion Ghana cedis that the Deputy Finance Minister mentioned. And we've been doing some diggings. And what we understand is that this year, 2025, government has a threshold. And according to what we are learning, they do not want the compensation of employees' budget, which includes wages and salaries, to be more than 33% of total revenue this year. We understand the government is pegging this figure as 76 billion Ghana cedis out of, that 293 billion they've projected to spend this year. And in fact, we've been trying to understand healthcare budget since 2020 COVID period, because we understand that this is the period that the nurses and the midwives enjoyed a lot of benefits from government. And what we are learning is that if you look at this 2 billion Ghana cedis that the Deputy Finance mentioned, it means it will cost government close to 167 million cedis every month if they decide to implement this in full. And also, what we are trying to establish is how health budgets has been growing since 2020. We understand in 2020 the health budget for the country grew by 22%, grew by 21% grew by some 26% in 2021 and 17% in 2022. Now in 2024, when these 8 agreements were reached, the growth of the healthcare budget was somewhere around 48.53%. 2025, you will be shocked possibly that amidst all of these gains in 2025, healthcare budget drops by some 0.26%. It shows a clear indication of where government is heading towards, and the fact that they feel that in 2025 is a big fiscal year and it will be difficult to implement these conditions of service this year.
So there you have it, how this also plays out into the fiscal space that the government is arguing on. We've been joined on the line by a member of the Health Committee of Parliament, Titus Bio, and also with him is Deputy Ranking Member on the same committee, Patrick Boachi Yadom. Grateful gentlemen for joining. Let me start with you, Dr. Titus Bio, because you've been at the forefront of some of these struggles in the past. How must both parties approach the issue?
Good evening, and good evening to my colleague on the other line, and then to your listeners. We are at a very difficult situation now, and I think it calls for cool heads, and the only way out is for some dialogue to continue. It's unfortunate we have gotten here, and we have to find a way out. And I think the only way out is for some form of negotiations to continue. So I was happy when the party sat yesterday, and I was hoping that something good will come out of it. Unfortunately, it didn't go as expected. But we are at a very, very difficult situation. And I think we will just have to plead with the nurses and midwives to return to the negotiation table, sit with government, and then we find a way out. Government is explaining, and just as you have done the analysis on the physical space, the challenges that government has. And the good news for me is that government is willing to engage, and the purpose of strikes is usually to get the attention of the employer to sit with you. And once the employer is responding, I will plead with the nurses, legitimate as their demands may be, justified as the demands may be, if we do not talk and we are at this loggerheads, it will be very difficult. So we will only plead with the nurses that government recognizes their importance, government recognizes the role they play, and the fact that for many of them, this is a painful decision for them to make, to be at home and see how their patients are suffering. So they should look at all these factors and temper justice with mercy so we can sit and talk and find a solution out of this.
But I mean, if you don't implement it now, next year, our analysis indicates that there will be very, very little fiscal space to accommodate this. So will it be feasible to say, let's push it to next year?
So you see, in negotiation, government has given a position that we wish that we can push it to next year because there's no fiscal space. You've seen the analysis. But you see, if you take a detailed look of this condition of service document, some of it is already being implemented, even though not to the level of the expectation of the nurses. And if you take their clothing allowance, they are already being paid 400 cedis. The demand is to be paid 1,000 cedis. And that is a gap there of about 600 cedis per year. If you take things like healthcare, a lot of effort is being done at it. If you take rural incentive allowance, it is something the government or the NDC party on its own, even prior to coming to power, pledged that we want to work on to help teachers and other workers who accept to go to deprived areas. So they would recognize that government itself intends to do some of these things. But we have all been celebrating the finance ministry for the fiscal discipline that they have exhibited that has gotten our city stronger, that has brought us this far. So I think that we have to look at all these factors. If they are saying next year, it means that they can work to accommodate it somehow. It may not be everything, but I think it can be accommodated. But I am of the strong belief that if they would resume the discussion, there may be some low-hanging fruits that government may look at and implement. And that is the point of negotiation. But you cannot negotiate while on strike. It is the reason why we are pleading. Government was even helpful, did its best. And you can see a minister that is passionate to find a solution.
Okay.
It's the reason why, even though against the labor law, you should not be talking while on strike, they still manage to have another meeting.
Okay. I'm grateful to you, Doc, but do stay with me. Let me bring in your colleague, who is the deputy ranking member on the Health Committee of Parliament, Patrick Boachi-Yadom, to join in this conversation. So, I mean, from where we are, there's a deadlock here. The nurses are still holding on to their earlier position. Government says we don't have the fiscal space to pay. What can you as a health committee do so that there is a solution to the issue at hand?
Well, thank you, and greetings to you and to my colleague on today, health committee met.
Hello, Doc. Hello, Mr. Boachi-Yadom. Hold on for me. Your line dropped a bit, so we didn't hear what you said. If you can start from here, over.
Yeah, well, I said today, the health committee met. Every member is not happy about the situation. We've agreed and supposed to write letters to all the stakeholders to meet urgently, to meet the committee urgently. We summon them to meet the committee urgently. And then we'll see that have been talked about since last week to see how we can reach an amicable settlement. But for me, I like the way Professor Bayo spoke. He spoke in a manner that will calmness, that will bring confidence, that will give an assurance. If you look at the posture of the workforce and the employer, it's like there's some level of suspicion, some level of mistrust. I would have wished government would have engaged this group from January and said, we've just taken over the reins. We don't know how much holds for us. Please, we can maybe face the implementation of the agreement reached last year. We can do the implementation in phases. We can create space for you, maybe in the budget or in the mid-year budget review, that we will do this and this and this for you. But for full implementation, we can only answer it in next year. Maybe, who knows? The nurses might have said, oh, the government has made a move. But not to engage, not to open your doors. I'm talking in respect to the finance ministry. Not to open your doors to these nurses, to a large extent means disrespect and disregard for the profession. That is where I think the issue is.
But
so
the
we
agencies,
are hoping as a committee this week we'll meet the stakeholders. We'll make a plea to both sides that they should strike a compromise somewhere. They are not happy about lives being lost in the hospitals. They are not happy about production being affected, productivity being affected. So we are concerned, and as members of the representatives of the people, want to do everything possible to see how we can reach an amicable settlement.
I'm grateful to you. Professor Bayo, let me conclude with you. Now, the government says it is recalling or appealing to retired nurses to come in and help. What do you make of that particular, effort to deal with the challenges we have? Is that the best way to handle it?
You will notice the difficulty with which our indefatigable health minister made that statement. If you go specifically to it, it says government is working around the clock to resolve the impasse. And noticing that people are suffering, he said the ministry is taking the following steps to mitigate the suffering of the Ghanaian patients so that they are not unduly affected by the strike. This must be a very, very difficult stock-up measure because it's not a permanent solution. It's not the most feasible solution. What we are appealing for as a nation is that, and as doctors, is that we want our regular nurses back. A minister will be irresponsible if he sits down and sees people dying, people suffering, people are crying, and he does nothing. This is a last-minute measure to see if it can mitigate the suffering of the Ghanaians.
Okay,
but it is not the solution.
Prof, I'm grateful to you.
It may help somehow. The solution is we need our nurses back.
Okay.
So I would say that this is a minister who wants to make sure that the effect of this strike is not too biting on the ordinary person.
Okay. Professor Titus Bayo, I'm grateful to you for joining us. He is a member of the Health Committee of Parliament. And that's it for Top Story, brought to you by Telecel Connecting Energies. My name is Samuel Kojobris. Up next is Newsnight.